So let's start. Let's start with the Spring Data JPA. So why we are using the Spring Data JPA? So JPA is nothing but Java Persistence API. So it is calling the managing the relational data into the Java application. So as we all know that there are several way we can connect the database, like JDBC connection or Hibernate connection. But the most simplest way so we can manage the relational data, that is Spring Data JPA. Why? Because the code is very less, means less coding, and it is very effective to write the code and execute the application. So why we are using the Spring Data JPA? So Spring Data JPA is basically using to managing for the relational data. So Spring Data JPA is managing relational data in the Java application. It allows us to persist and access between the Java object class along with the relational database. So basically the Spring Data JPA follows the ORM technology, that is object relation mapping, and it is basically a set of interface. So now I will give you the particular difference of basic difference of Spring Data JPA with Hibernate. So basically all of you know that we are basically using the Hibernate. So but there is couple of differences between the JPA and Hibernate. What is the difference between the JPA and Hibernate? As JPA is a Java specific application for relation database, and Hibernate is basically using the ORM framework. The second thing, the most important thing is it doesn't provide any implementation class. The Spring Data JPA doesn't provide any implementation class, where whenever you are trying to write the Java database connectivity using the Hibernate, it provides some implementation class. And the third and most important thing is Spring Data JPA is using JPQL query, that is Java Persistence Query Language, while Hibernate is using HQL, that is Hibernate Query Language. And Spring Data JPA, all we know that it is failing on JavaX Persistence API, and that is org.hibernate API. So basically I am giving you the example where we are using the Spring Data JPA. Suppose let's say simple example. So suppose we have an employee table. Here you can see the employee table. Okay. So employee table, so whenever you need to create the table, you need to give the entity. So that's why we are giving the annotation. So I will in the later I will show you how the annotation will work and what are the different type of annotation we are using in the Spring or Spring Boot application. So whenever you are giving the entity, that defines a class map to a table. So after the entity, you can give the at the table entity at the table annotation here. So after entity, if you want to give the table name, then you should write over there at the table, and you can name equal to that name, whatever the table name employee or whatever the table name you want to give, you can give the table name over there. Let's say I am giving employee. Okay. Now I am giving this is a Pojo class, so I am giving some getter setter method over there, ID, name, city, that is the basic things. So ID, as it is, the ID is a random thing, so it is auto generated value. So that's why I am giving one annotation called generated value strategy equal to generation type dot auto. That means whenever you are inserting one query or one row into the particular employee table, the ID of the table will auto generate it with this particular annotation. So after that, what we are doing, we are just giving the constructor. One is public employee constructor, and another is one is normal constructor, another parameterized constructor, and setting up some getters and setters method. So after that, so after creating the Pojo class, what we need to do, we need to give some DAO class. So here, what is our object? Our object is we need to get the employee details from the employee table. So for to get employee details from the employee table, what you need to do, you need to give some logic over there. So let's say, let's take one more note, and let's say we have employee table called employee, and we have ID here and name, and I am giving city. Then ID 1, name you can say Saurav, city you can say Kolkata, 2 3. So like that we are there are a couple of employee details are present in the employee table. Now there are two, we need to get all the employee details using that employee table itself. What we need to do, we need to give here some examples. So for that, what we need to do for that Spring Data JPA, we want to create one repository class. So the relation is between that one. So first we need to create the Pojo class, then we need to create the repository class. So repository class annotation is declared the class as a repository. So whenever we are creating class as a repository, we have to create the interface. So here I am creating interface called employee repository interface, this one, and that extend JPA repository. What is the JPA repository? JPA repository is nothing but this combination of CRUD repository and paging and sorting repository. All of you know that the card operation, that means create or update, delete and insert, that four thing that are card operation. So that card operation, so if you want to do all the operation in one way, then you can extend the JPA repository, which is including CURD repository along with the paging and sorting repository. So here we are just giving JPA repository along with the class name from which class it is inherited, that is the employee class, and along with the data type. So now what I have done, I am creating here two methods. One is array list employee find all employees. So there is one particular method called find all, where you will get all the details for the particular table. So we are not passing any value, we are just the so if you given right here find all employee, that find all employee is stated that in our SQL query select star from employee, the basic SQL query. That means it will give. So if I go to this particular here, if I give here select star from employee, then it will return all those row. Okay, so that's why I am giving here find all employee. And the second thing I am giving here find all employee by ID. So there is one way we can give that one. So whenever you are trying to fetch the data by passing some value, then you need to write find all, then the table name by whatever the value you are passing, that ID you should the value, that column you should keep over here. Suppose here select that stated select star from employee where ID equal to 3. That means only this row, only 3 Garfield Pune, these 3 the things will be coming whenever we are trying to face this one. So it is stated that where ID question mark. So question mark means it's a dynamic, ID is a dynamic, whatever the value you are passing either from UI or from Postman, that value it will fetch from the here itself, and it will get the data, whatever the data is present, corresponding data is present in the database, that data will fetch. So I have created the repository class, so where we are just keeping all the necessary SQL command. So basically we are not writing any comment, this is not an SQL part. So that's the basic very advantage thing of Spring Data JPA. If you are using the Hibernate query language or any other query language, you need to write the complex query, that's a very difficult thing. But that's the advantage of Spring Data JPA. The code is very simple. You don't need to write any query over there, you just keep it as a method name, find all employee or find all the table name, and then find all employee by ID. So if you want to get the employee by name, find all employee by name, or find all employee by city. So like that you will get. So if you want to get the distinct value, you will get find all employee distinct, then by ID or name or whatever. So now coming after repository class. So repository class is DO class. DO means data access object class, where we can access the data from DB itself. Now what we need to do, we need to create the service layer. So service layer means where we are just keeping all the business logic. So from the service layer itself, so whenever you are trying to create a service class, you need to give address service annotation in the top of the class in Spring Boot application. So here I'm just giving address service, and we are keeping employee service IMPL. Now what do we need to do? We need to call that repository class from the service class itself. So what do we need to do? You can create the object. So like in the basic way, we can lay employee repository emp repository equal to new emp repository. But if you are suppose if you have 1000 repository, and then if you are trying to create the 1000 object, so that's not a suitable things to write the application, right? So it will take more dynamic memory in the Java application part. So instead of that one, we are using auto adding. So I will later in the another video I will explain how the auto add will work. So basically in the auto add, basically it will create the bin internally, and it will call the particular class itself. So I am giving here @auto add, and I am auto adding that employee repository into the employee service IMPL class. Now what I need to do, I need to give the call the particular method. So here I am just giving public array list employee find all employee method, and inside that method what I have done, I am just keeping that return value, that array list employee repository dot find all. What that method will do, that method will basically find all the method, means find all the employee list from the particular repository itself. So here you can okay, so here find all. So after whenever it is returning the find all, it will return all the value from the particular employee table. Now I am giving here another method, that is, just a moment, yeah, public employee find all employee by ID. So here I am giving the employee find all employee by ID. So here what I need to do, I have given here find employee by ID, and so here you can give, yeah. So here what you need to, and also here are small changes we need to done here. So here you can write find employee, and find employee, and you can give find employee by ID, yeah. So here what you need to do, so here I am creating one more method called find employee by ID, and we are passing the long ID value. So now what I have done, I am taking the optional class. I will take you another video where I will explain what is optional class. Basically it's a Java 8 feature which is handling the null pointer exception. So because suppose if you are trying to find let's say select start from employee where ID equal to 4, then you will get null pointer because no employee is present with this particular ID. So to handle this kind of situation, we can give some exception, some custom exception over there, but we can use optional class also which will handling the null pointer exception from the application itself. So I will come in the later part in the other video how the optional class will work. So here I am doing, I am taking one optional class and I am finding all the employee by passing the ID itself. And if it is present, then I am just getting the ID opt.get. There is one value method called get method where we are getting all the details from the particular condition. So select start from employee where ID equal to 3. So we'll get all the details from the employee table itself. And if it is if the ID is not present, then it will return as expected null. And also for the working purpose, I am just adding some I'm creating one array list and I am adding some random data over there. As we know, the ID is auto generated, so we don't need to add the ID from the explicitly. So what we need to do, we need to just give the name and the city and it will add it automatically. The ID will generate automatically. Okay. And after that, what we need to do, we need to give, there is one method called save method which will save the data into the particular table itself. So that's why I am giving employee repository.save and we are just passing the list of the employee. So here we are taking the employee list for each value. So here you can, instead of for, you can give for each also. So that is one kind of Java 8 method in the for each method. So I will explain in the later the for each method. So you can give the employee deposit dot save. Okay, so it will save the database. Now this is the main class where we are just calling, this is the controller class. So we are just keeping it as a REST controller. So that means at the REST controller, we need, this is a combination of REST controller and other request response body. So we don't need to write any explicit response at the response body annotation from the particular mapping itself for particular each and every method, because the class itself as a considered as a controller class, which is having the two annotation. One is @controller and along with the @response body. So we don't need to give the response body annotation and along with the accept equal to application/text or application/yml, anything. Okay, so now what we have done, we are just keeping some mapping over here. So you can see @post mapping, @get mapping, @post get mapping, and also we are not doing any delete mapping, so we can remove that part. So @post mapping, get mapping. So basically, if we want to get the data from the server itself, then we need to give @get mapping. If you want to insert the data into the table itself, then or into the database itself, then you need to give @post mapping. If you want to update any particular column or particular column from or particular details from for any of the row, then you need to give @put mapping. So that I will explain in another video. So here you can see like @post mapping, and we are giving public void add. So here what we have done, we are just adding the employee. So suppose if you execute that entire application in the from the URL sorry, from the localhost itself. So if you give localhost :8080 and /, then all the employee, whatever the employee we have added over here, all the employee, if you run that if you hit that localhost :8080 / from the postman itself, so whatever the value we have added over here, you can see that the whatever the value we have added, so all the value will be inserted into a database. Now if you want to get the get mapping, so if you give the localhost :8080 / find all, then you will get all the records from the particular table. If you want to get any particular data or any particular row, then you need to give /find by id /id. So here id is coming as a second bracket, so that means we need to pass the id from the URL itself. So suppose I can give you the URL example. Suppose if you have an IRCTC website or even any other website, make my trip IRCTC. So suppose if you want to update your or if you want to fetch your details, so suppose if you want to get the phone number, the registered phone number, what it will do, so once you log in into the particular website, then you need to go to the basic details part. So whenever you are just click the edit part, so in the, if you check the URL, so URL it will coming / then your ID, means whatever the ID or whatever the user ID is present for the particular user or username is present for the particular user, that username is coming. That means it will fetch the details for the particular user itself. So that's why we are keeping here the get mapping. So if you give /find by id /id mean if you give /3 or /2 or /1, whatever the ID is present, so that particular record is reflecting in the UI itself. So that's why if you see here, I am passing that ID as a path variable. So path variable is another annotation which is passing through the UI itself. So whenever suppose from the post map, so in the next video I will show how it will work from the post map in itself. So if you select the get mapping on the postman, and if you give that localhost :8080 / that find by id /23 or anything else, whatever the ID is present over there, then you will get the particular record only, not all the record. But if you give /find all, and you will get all the record. So that's the first video of the basic details of the Spring Data JPA. So on the next part I will show how to execute that one, and also for the database connectivity I will show you where you need to give all the database properties. So there is one application.properties file where you will give all the database properties like that itself. Let me show you. So here you will in the application properties file you will give like that spring.datastore.username, spring.datastore.password, spring.datastore.driver class, and you can give spring.jpa generate ddl -net ddl -auto. So basically for the uses purpose, so daily uses purpose in your personal laptop, you can use the H2 database, that is a free database. You can use the H2 database. So you can just take the H2 database artifact ID and keep it in the pom.xml. So once you are just building your application, so all the database connectivity will establish, and then you can just hit the query, hit the URL from your Postman, so it will work as expected. So I will show you the next video how the that example will execute from the Spring Boot application itself, and I will show you through the Postman also how it is working. So I am wrap it up right now here. So if you have any doubt, just post it in my comments. We'll try to give you the solution. Bye bye.